Welcome to the Neuro-Performance Podcast with your host, Andy Murphy. Join us as we delve into the advanced high-performance tactics he uses with his elite clientele across the globe. Let's unlock a whole new world of business potential together.
Okay, welcome everybody. Here we are, and thank you so much for being here. Today, well, this is actually week 4. Week 4, it's the Burnout Cure, Mastering Resilience through Neuro-Performance. And if this is the first time that you're being introduced to me, we'll get all about me, but it's not about me, it's about you today. But this is part of the 8-Figure Thinker Infinite Income Live series. And if you've been enjoying the others, I'm excited for you because I put a lot of effort into these, I give away a lot of value. And these are really what people would pay for, but I just want to help. I just really want to help. And today, it's a really interesting topic. It's, as I say, it's very personal to me. I've been through this. I've helped so many executives and entrepreneurs who have gone through this, or to make sure that they don't go through this. And that is my mission today. That's my mission in life, to be honest, to make sure that you don't have to go through the pain that I've been through, or I've seen, or I've helped other people through. Burnout is such a underspoken about topic, and most people don't even realize really what it means, but I'm going to show you what it really means. So should I jump in? I'm going to jump into today's slides. Let's do this. So if you've seen these slides before, good. It means you're paying attention. You're going to see some of the slides at the start because not everyone knows me, so I have to show who I am, right? But again, this isn't about me today. This is about you. And what we're going to cover in the Infinite Income Live series, we're going to cover a few different things, okay? So get settled. We're going to be here for about 45 minutes. So relax. Make sure you've switched social off and that, because I've got a lot of statistics to go through, and I will be talking about my own story. And if you don't know my story, well, I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm just going to go through a little bit of it today. But why burnout is the silent enemy of success. It doesn't matter what business you're building. It doesn't matter what marketing system or sales funnel you're building, or if you're running a multi-million-dollar company. The truth is, if our nervous system isn't conditioned correctly, if our brain isn't wired correctly, if our neurochemistry isn't dialed in, if we do not know precisely how to control our mind, our emotions, our peak states, then what happens is the stress of scaling, when we hit this threshold, that just burns us out, right? It holds us back. So number 2, I'm going to share my burnout story. It's an interesting one, so pay attention to that. Neuroscience of burnout and its impact on leadership. We're going to cover the 8-Figure Thinker protocols to reverse burnout and how to build resilience and sustain peak performance. And then we're going to give you some action steps. So make sure you head to the end. No, hang out with me until the end. And then once we've done this, if you're feeling brave, or you really want to get something answered, or you want to get this free coaching, right, and really experience what it's like to work with me in some level, then I'd love to meet you, okay? My goal by the end of this is you really start to look at your business, your life, how you're driving forwards, what fuel you're using, what dopamine chemicals you're using, right? What patterns of behavior you're using. Because for me, there's 2 different types of fuel. We can have the fuel which is fear, anger, which is going to be like jet fuel, right? It's going to create momentum. It's going to create results, but then it burns out. It's not designed for longevity. The other thing is passion, right? We can use the word passion. It's many different words, but we can just use the word passion. That passion, right? Intensity, that is slow burning fuel. That lasts, right? And if we start building something called dopamine loops into your progression of your business, your growth of your business, then what happens is we stop sabotage patterns, right? We stop this inner voice that holds us back. We stop getting sick. We stop escaping, right? What we want is to make your business, your life so laser focused. The neurology that we build in your brain, right? Remember, your brain is like a muscle. So we need to pump it the right way. Okay? So, sound good? If it does sound good, by the way, make sure you're writing something in the chat. Make sure that you're letting me know you can hear me, because what I am going to do at the end, I am going to give you a link. And this link is cool because it means you can chat with me after. It's a WhatsApp group, right? And the WhatsApp group isn't designed just for the general public. It's only for special people like you who've actually been here. And I also have a couple of free gifts, so make sure you're hanging out to the end. Should we jump in? Should we jump in? I thought you might say that. Let's do this. Let's do this. So make sure you're in the right place. Today is for visionary CEOs, founders, and consultants about growing their current path and are ready to transition into their next level opportunity. That could be you're running your own business, right? So people sometimes get, well, what's the CEO? I'm not really a founder. I've only got a few people. Or you could be running a $100 million business watching this. What you've got to realize is we are all human. We all hit thresholds of growth. Everything that we want is on the outside of this boundary condition that we work in, right? Everything that you want, you desire, is all over here. So what we've got to make sure is if you're getting frustrated, right? You're holding yourself back and you know that you're destined for so much more impact, income, influence, right? Then you're in the right place. And if you're in the right place and you love what's going on by the end of this, let's connect and design the strategy you need to accelerate into those blue oceans and that infinite income. Sound good? Awesome. Make sure, again, you'll give me a yes in those chats, and let's keep going. Because the truth is, all business success originates from a new idea. The wheel, the laptop, the internet, right? And also who you are, what's possible for you, right? And your ability to stay laser focused and in flow under that intense pressure. And if you're under that intense pressure right now and you want so much more, then I know you can get it. From thousands and thousands of people and 22 years of doing this, I've seen some incredible things that people have achieved. And I know anything's possible. But the truth behind this is the rules of wealth have changed. This younger generation does not care in the slightest what accolades you've got, what you've done in the past. They do not care. This is about making sure you stay ahead of that competition. And you stay ahead of the competition by making sure you evolve, you expand. You never get in this comfort zone. You never get stuck because we're always striving for the next image, the next vision in your head. Make sense? Good. The world's evolving faster than ever. Companies don't offer the stability. The stability comes from you. That's the success. And as I say, there's two-part equation. One part is you need the marketing, the sales, the branding. You need all of those skills. But the truth, the dirty little secret that the industry doesn't tell you, right? Or business doesn't tell you, is that if we're not built, if we're not designed, you're going to hit these thresholds. And if we don't move past it, this is what we're talking about today, burnout, right? Because the truth, we're moving fast. No one saw the impact of AI in business. I haven't truly Googled anything, maybe the odd little thing, but I haven't probably Googled 98% of anything in the past probably 6 or 7 months. It's all been through ChatGPT and it's all been through AI. I utilize that in everything that I'm doing these days. It's become kind of my best friend, right? And the next level to this is quantum computing. Different game. Everyone's in the world's on a race to do that. And the people that stay ahead of this curve, the people that constantly drive forward, right? Optimized. Optimized is the key word, right? Personal optimization, business optimization. That's what I do. But those people, they are always safe, okay? The pain of staying stuck, and it doesn't matter what level you're playing at or what you're trying to achieve. The pressure's mounting with the economy. We get stuck in familiar, relying on strategies that are outdated, and we hit these invisible roadblocks, and the potential gets capped, right? If the world doesn't see your value. And you could be running a business right now. You could be that CEO, you could be the founder, you could be a consultant, you could be in real estate, you could be a trader, you could be whatever it is. Tactics and strategies of marketing and branding and all those things, they evolve, they change depending on the level of the audience, right? The intelligence of the or the sophistication of the audience, right? Meaning, if someone's not seen something, it's new. And I'm guessing that if you're here today thinking the things that you're thinking right now with me, it means that you have seen a lot of things already, right? So we have to show you something different. And if this resonates with you, well, you're not alone, because leaders across industries are struggling to break through into a world that truly rewards bold evolution. That's what the 8-figure think is about. That's what I'm about. I'm here to push you, to grow you, to help you, to support you, to move into blue oceans. Make sense? Like that? Give me a yes. Give me a yes. And let's keep going as you'll give me those yeses. Know who Ray Dalio is? Right? And if you've seen these slides before, good. It means you've been on these before. Just a few more, and then we're going to get to the juice of this. But Ray Dalio comes from nothing. Yet he is one of the most successful investors there's ever been. And what he worked out very quickly is the psychology and the brain is the key to ultra elite level success. I don't work with just anybody, right? My courses, the 8-Figure Thinker Members Club, the experiences, the retreats, everything that I do isn't for the everyday person. And if you're pulled to me and you're pulled to what I'm talking about today, it means you're kind of unique, right? It means that you're separate from the masses and you're wanting something different. But when we look at Ray Dalio, right, and he literally says his understanding of economics investing is only as much as he understands about the brain. And that is the secret to business. Now, if you don't know me, it's okay. Not everybody does. I kind of work behind the scenes. I'm not in the general public. I work with very elite level people, and we'll show you a couple of those things today. But I've spent over 2 decades, 22 years to be exact, right? Helping elite leaders rewire their brains for clarity, resilience, and blue ocean thinking. I get them to attract world-class opportunities, and I get them to build elite networks and transfer that pressure, okay, into power, unlocking their full potential. Because I know if I can do that for you, right, then I know you're going to lead your business to a whole new life, a whole new level of success. I do that for you, it creates a ripple right? A ripple right through your organization into thousands of people's lives. That's what I'm here for. It's the only reason why I'm here on earth, right? So I design geniuses, right? Or designing genius to see patterns of business, finance, and the future. That's what I've done for a long, long time. And today I'm going to show you some little cool little secrets. So what makes my neuroconditioning strategy approach unique? The neuroscience, the psychology, and the proven systems to expand your income, influence, and impact no matter what the circumstances is. I've helped leaders like you navigate the toughest challenges and come out stronger, wealthier, and in control. Sound good? We in the right place? We excited? Good. I hope so. I hope so. Because I know you're going to love today. I know you're going to love today. Because these are the exact same protocols that I've trained billionaires with, $300 million CEOs, world champions, royalties, celebrities, and 8-figure thought leaders. You can head over to andymurphy.online and look who I've worked with. You can also look at the 8-Figure Thinker Members Club. You can look at, just contact me. We'll have a chat. So why now? Why now? Why is today the most important day for you? Why today and now is where you can get a new idea? Why? Because you have to stay ahead of that competition, like I said before. And the only way we can do that is invest in ourselves. Investing in ourselves doesn't just mean with money. It means with energy, it means with focus, it means with drive and passion, right? Because you can be one of those people, I don't know what age level you are, right? But you could be one of those people that always have excuses, or you can go after this. And it is just a perspective shift. We could talk about your internal dialogue, your neurological programming, your behaviors, and we'll get to all of that. But I just want you to understand that you are your future, right? Doesn't matter what anything else anybody says. If you work with me, that's okay. If you don't, that's okay. I just want you to be the best version of you. And we're going to get into why burnout is so important to understand. The world's not getting simpler, right? The world's getting more chaotic. It's getting more intense. It's getting more outdated, the things that we were doing before with the birth of AI. And we're just beginning. But there's a cost to burnout. There is a cost to burnout. It wastes time, it wastes energy, it burns good people, it destroys ideas. But when we look at some statistics around this, right, it's wild because 60% of leaders report burnout annually. Think about what I just said there. 60% of leaders report burnout annually. Think about that. Burnout-related stress costs businesses 125 to 190 billion annually, right? So all of these incredible people like you are just not performing at your best. You're not neuro-conditioned. You're not optimized, right? Your nervous system isn't on point, which means your thinking isn't strategic. Your thinking is not at the highest level. We'll go into this. And we've gone into this over the past 3 weeks. But chronic stress reduces decision-making by 40%. What I want for you is to be switched on, right? And it doesn't matter what gets thrown at you. You're so switched on that you, instead of reacting, you'll be able to make rapid decisions on moves. Could be in a business meeting, could be in a sales call, could be whatever strategy you're using just hasn't worked. And it's okay, man. It's okay. Because when we start to understand the inner world creates the outer world, it's not the other way around. Because there could be two possibilities, right? Two things that could change your life. And if you're so caught up in cortisol, right, the stress hormone, then your brain is cloudy, brain fog. You're not going to be able to make the right decisions. You could pivot left when really you should pivot right. And that means that you live a whole different life. You see a whole different opportunity. Does that make sense? The pain of burnout, loss of focus leads to missed opportunities. Just covered that one. Depleted energy triggers reactive leadership. Emotional exhaustion weakens team morale. And do you know that stress actually ripples through your whole organization? It does. Many different reasons. We could talk about mirror neurons. We could talk about unconscious programming. We could also talk about stress hormones, which actually affect the people around us through proximity. So if you are leading a business, a tribe, an organization, one other person, right, or even your family, you being so stressed out, not understanding how to control this, what that does is it literally, through hormones, affects everyone around you. And when you understand that your dominant emotion, I'll talk about more of this about later, but your dominant emotion dictates your perspective of the world, your decision-making strategy. Understand that? We've all experienced that, right? So, question, how much is burnout costing you in your clarity, energy, and leadership impact? Even it reduces the speed that you can create results by 10%, just 10%. That's enormous. It's enormous, right? How many projects have you not completed or have been slowed down because you or somebody else in your team has got sick? And generally what we find with high pressure performers, right? High pressure performance and businesses that are in growth mode, it's never the skill set of the person that becomes the issue. It's always, can they handle the weight? Makes sense? This was actually taught to me by a really close friend of mine. I've got a really lucky to have such a big, powerful network. And one of my best friends, his company, it's been running 3 years, Inc. 500 fastest growing companies, year 1, year 2, year 3. It's only 3 years old, right? And what he said to me is that there's a reason why billionaires are billionaires, Andy. And I was like, well, why? Because yes, their skill set, their drive, their intelligence, all of those things. But it's the ability to handle that weight and still be calm. Because you've got to understand, a billionaire didn't just arrive there unless it's generational wealth. That's a different topic, right? And I work with high net worth individuals and next gen leaders and things like that. That's a different topic. But to be able to handle that weight and be able to understand that your decisions ripple through to millions of people's lives, and to be able to handle even that concept, even that one specific perspective, right, that most people can't handle. I've worked with billionaires, I've looked behind their eyes. Some are crazy, but some are really amazing people. And they've just been able to get to that level because of who they are, their identity. And we'll talk more about that a little later. With me so far? Good? Give me some comments in the chat, or make sure you're writing some notes, getting some questions ready for me. Okay, the impact on burnout on performance. Decreases innovation and adaptability by 50%. This is to do with dopamine overload in the prefrontal cortex. Previous episodes, I'm not doing the podcast today, previous sessions, then you'll know all about that. So please go back through them. Leaders under chronic stress miss 2x more opportunities. And burnout reduces brain plasticity, making it harder to adapt and grow. Let's talk about that one for a second. When we talk about neuroplasticity and the brain, then what we've got to understand is that the brain wants to adapt, right? It's just like genetic expression. It's just like environmental change. Humans have been around for so long for that reason, the ability to adapt to unknown and new circumstances. It's the same with the brain. So what happens when we're in burnout? We are just not firing correctly in any capacity. So the neuroplasticity brain chemicals don't get produced as much, right? Because again, we're under stress hormones, And so as you're growing and scaling your business, whatever level you're at, right? You might just be getting started, or you might be running, as I say, $100 million business. The truth is, the pressure's the higher you go, let's look at it this way, the higher you go, the more pressure comes. And if we're not in optimum performance, if we haven't got this tuned in, if we're not controlling this, not using this to its absolute optimum, right? Not maximum, but optimum, then the truth is we just can't pivot. We can't make what I call micro decisions. Look at it this way, right? You could be in a merger, a negotiation, a sales call, or prospecting, and someone throws a curveball at you. Didn't expect it. If we're not in that right place, if we haven't developed our peak states, right, which are, again, specific states, conversations for another time. It's like my superpower of what I do, changing brain waves, dealing with the unconscious programming, adapting memories, building behaviors and patterns. And so if we haven't done those things, right, become the 8-figure thinker, and we step into an environment that is uncertain, then what happens is we can get something called an amygdala response, a fight, flight, or freeze response, right? Speaking of that, I've mentioned this before in one of the sessions. There is a fourth one. There is a fourth one, right, to an amygdala response. If someone knows it, write it in. I'm going to give you a prize, right? If you know the fourth one, fight, flight, freeze. If you know the fourth one, write it in the chat. Write it in the chat. I've got something for you. So if we're not in that place, then we can't make those micro decisions. And if we're in that environment that we do not know what the circumstances is, someone throws a curveball and we can't adapt to it, that could be millions of dollars lost, right? Or a relationship. Understand? So leadership requires more than strategies. It demands resilience to adapt faster than the world around you. Make sense? Good so far? Happy? Good. Good. So again, I just spoke about it, right? Amygdala hijack, right? It's one of the burnout neuroscience concepts. Chronic stress activates the fight or flight, reducing clarity and focus. It gives you prefrontal cortex overload. Prolonged stress reduces problem solving and strategic thinking. Fact, leaders facing burnout make 30% fewer high value decisions weekly. Put that into perspective. 30%, right? You might go, well, that's all right. I've still got loads more. If 30% was taken off your extra on tax, off your income, 30% becomes a lot, right? Exactly. So if we can reduce that to 20, to 10, to 5%, even less, then your performance, your skill, folding time, the speed of we can achieve your results just exponentially accelerates. Make sense? Cool. So again, we've covered this before. Low dopamine levels lead to a reduced motivation and mental stamina. I think session 2, whole thing was about dopamine. Or was it session 1? You can tell me. You can tell me. Dopamine being the what chemical. The what chemical? What is it? Write in if you know, write in the chat. What is it? It's the motivation chemical. It is not the reward chemical, right? As once they used to think in neuroscience. So burnout isn't a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of weakness. And I've got a slide in a minute which will bring this up. It's your brain asking for recalibration. We are not supposed to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. We're not. We are not supposed to keep redlining the vehicle, right? If you are a machine, you are a high performance vehicle, you can't keep it redlining. What happens if you keep it redlining? Yeah, the engine burns out, okay? My job, what I do, one of the things, besides the performance stuff, what I want to share with you is there's another way. I know because I know, and I'm going to tell you more about that in a moment, okay? So this is the other thing. We're talking about brain health, right? Chronic stress decreases gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, impairing decision making and innovation. What helps regenerate gray matter? Do you know? Do you know? Meditation does. And all these neurofeedback and machines and everything and supplementation, nootropics, and the correct nutrition, all of these things. But even meditation done correctly, right, is brain health, right? So let's keep going. Dopamine, yes, mental fatigue, leadership and brain plasticity, we kind of covered that, didn't we? Outdated business growth. I don't like this word. Yet this word is pushed all through social media. This word grind is pushed and it's become a norm in the culture of entrepreneurism. And it's just because it's like the game of telephone, right? The game of telephone in the US, different words in the rest of the world, but we use the telephone concept in the because a lot of US people probably watching. It's like, oh, you gotta grind, you gotta grind, you gotta grind. And no, you don't. No, you don't. Do you have to work hard? Sure. Do you have to hustle? Absolutely. But grinding, look at the definition. Verb, right? It's a action word, doing word. Reduce something to small particles or powder of crushing, by crushing. Literally pulverization. Is that what you want to do? No, we're supposed to be in flow. By the way, week 5 next week, that's about flow states, which I love, right? We talk about brain waves, all this cool stuff. So I'm just gonna take a little breath, take a little sip of water, and yeah, this is something I don't speak about too often. People listening to my podcast probably say different, but it's kind of true. It is true. And I haven't shown these 3 slides to anyone in probably 4 or 5 years at least. So 2019 was the last time I did a webinar and showed the slides that I'm about to show you. And it's a very intense memory. I know some of you watching right now have probably saw my posts, etc., and maybe you read the emails, and it was me going to be talking about this, right? My story. So we should do it. Let's do it. Quick overview. So when I was 27, I was living in New Zealand, and I was the top performer in investment real estate, or one of them. What's the top, right? But one of the top investment salespeople in Australia. We got headhunted to New Zealand. I broke records in multiple companies. I was one of the top salespeople in New Zealand. I was very young. I was 26. So I did all this from the age of 24 to 26. In 24, I left Australia. By the time I was 26, I was one of the top salespeople in 2 countries, right? And I, obviously being crazy ADHD, I got a little bored. And because I got bored, I looked for new opportunities. And ADHD is a good thing, by the way, if we learn to harness it the correct way. And so I was putting together with a business partner of mine who was a much older guy than me, my mentor, my best friend. And I went to him to create a business plan, because I'd never done one before when I was 26, to take Australia and New Zealand real estate over to Dubai to sell it down at the Worldwide Property Fair. Worldwide Property Fair, this is where the Palms was being sold off the plan. This is 2006, 2007. And the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world currently, that was being sold off the plan. It was wild. And I got together with him and we built a development company to build a resort in Fiji. This was the island, Kadomo Island Resort, okay? This was a 2.5 year plus project of mine. I dedicated my whole life to this. It was everything. And we took it to Dubai. And we were selling it down next to the Palms. But it was instead of the Australian and New Zealand real estate, we were doing this. Everything was going amazing. I met the Sheikh of Abu Dhabi at the time. You know, I'm 26 years old, and it's like, it's wild, right? Wild. And we came back, and everything was going great, except for something happened. That was actually, I took that photo, by the way. We were on a beach, on a boat, heading to the island that we were going to buy, right? Or looking at buying. We were the first people that weren't the family of the island, because all of these islands are owned by families and tribes. We were the first people, non-tribe, to be able to walk to the top of this island, right? And I'm not a good photographer, but that's a pretty damn good picture, right? Not HD, didn't exist back then. And this was life-changing for me. I was so British that I'd never worn flip-flops and shorts at the same time, right? I did in Fiji, and I don't think I ever got out of them since. But everything was going great. And then we came back to New Zealand. 2008 happened. You remember what happened in 2008? There's a crash. Actually, that's when I went back many years later, maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and the Burj Khalifa, which is the biggest building and the largest building in the world, was there. So I saw it off the plan, and then I saw it built. That was an amazing moment in my life. But what happened was, came back 2008, market started to crash. See this guy? Guy in the black t-shirt? Guy in the black t-shirt. I don't really have emotions of this anymore. I really don't. But the guy in the black t-shirt was my mentor, my business partner, my best friend. He thought it was a great idea to steal all my money, to watch me go through bankruptcy, watch me go through a nervous breakdown, watch me lose my investment real estate, watch me lose my girl who I was with for 3.5 years, and just lied to me for about 2 years until I was crushed and basically had to leave the country. And that was his plan, you know? There's many lessons in this, but one of the lessons is be very careful who you do business with, because it's very easy to get to do business with them, very hard to get out of it, okay? And he actually showed me, him and that his wife at the back with the pink top on and the white trousers. They showed me the boat that they'd bought with the money that they stole. And it's crazy. It's crazy. How can someone be such a psycho, right? But he was. And I'm so glad that the project didn't actually happen and go through, because he was a psycho. And that means then he would have always been a psycho. And that means that they would just gone deeper into finances and he would have done a lot more damage, right? But I rebuilt it. Life's good. I'm happy. But I wanted to share this with you for a few different reasons. I just don't want you to go through the pain that I've been through, right? And this is why burnout and showing you how not to go there, not to go through that pain, and instead accelerate into a whole new world, which I've completely done, right, for many, many years after this idiot, it's anything's possible. Anything's possible. Like I said right at the start of this, anything's possible. So the eight-figure thinker protocols for resilience, it's just, I'm going to give you tiny little glimpses into this. As I say, with the eight-figure thinker university, even the course on its own, it's over 40 hours of content. It's so deep, so sophisticated. It is the premier peak performance course for entrepreneurs in the world. It's a full curriculum, full certification, all built around NLP, behavioral psychology, persuasion and influence, and neuroscience. It's incredible, right? You can talk to me more about that. But little things, right? Neuro-conditioning. Well, what's neuro-conditioning? 2 words, right? Neuro-conditioning. Not rocket science. Neuro being the brain, the nervous system, how it interacts with people, places, and things, how it responds to the past, the future, how it responds to our beliefs, language, attitudes, values, how it conditions to external things, internal things, how it conditions to us, right? In every aspect, every single memory that you've ever had, the future and the past, by the way, they're both memories. Well, they're all conditioned. They're all trigger responses, right? For example, I could say to you, what did you eat 5 days ago on a Tuesday? Might have an answer, might not, right? That's a condition. If you think of your favorite food right now, think of your favorite food right now, right? What's that smell? What's distinct about that smell? What's the thing that reminds you of it the most? Is it when it first touches your tongue, right? Is it when you swallow it? Is it the feeling in your stomach? What about money? What about money, right? When I say the word money, what emotion comes up? When I think of, say, the word money and 2 years in the future, what emotion and thought comes up? This is all neuro-conditioning. This is all wiring in your brain. And we have over 2.5 million bits of information coming through our 5 senses every single second. And the truth is, if we're not conditioned correctly in our unconscious mind or subconscious mind or our body mind, right? The bit of your mind that blinks you, breathes you, affects your lymph system, your heart rate, also your behaviors. If this isn't wired correctly, then we're constantly in a state of reactivity. So what we want to do with these protocols is we want to make you calm under pressure. Any type of pressure, resilience, right? Design and installing specific states. Can't talk more about that now. Nervous system conditioning, so you can handle that weight I was talking about before. And neuroconditioning to always perform in peak flow. Flow, we're talking about in week 5, right? See how these are layering together over the weeks? You got it. Example, CEO used this method in one of my clients and stayed composed during a $10 million negotiation. If we hadn't done this stuff, like I was speaking about before, then what happens is the curveball comes in, he isn't conditioned, then what happens is sometimes we can react in an amygdala response, and that just takes us out of our game. Get it? Like it? Good. Good. So, dopamine reset practices. Again, I think it's session 1, not episode 444, I think I just recorded of the podcast. That's 400 plus hours of me talking, by the way. So, dopamine reset practices. Dopamine being the motivation chemical, right? So if you find yourself without motivation, one of the great things to do, Andrew Huberman talks about it, which I love Andrew Huberman, and I've got to think more about this in the slide in a few moments, but morning movement and sunlight exposure regulates your dopamine. So it resets it, okay? Rather than a spike or a crash, it resets it. So strategic energy mapping, very important, right? What does light you up, right? What's pulling you down? Do we need to delegate? Do we need to build a system around it, automate it, which was last week, right? Do we need to bring in extra teams? Do we need to remove things? What do we need to do? So a founder client of mine reduced operational tasks by 30% by freeing 15 hours monthly. I think that was it? Yeah, number 2, session 2. Go and check them out anyway. So the truth is, we get tricked. The truth is, we're always externally action driven. The externally action driven simply means that we are taught this way. We are taught business is external. It's not. It's a game of chess, inner chess, right? Inner chess so we can play outer chess. But it's so rewarded through social media, the external validation, all of these things. And it's crazy. It's crazy. This is the secret sauce to why the people I've worked with create this success. So, number 3, the burnout to performance connection. Well, I love this quote, and I keep using this quote because I love this quote, right? What I help people do, doesn't matter who they are, I help you fold time, accelerate time, right? Accelerate your goal. If something, and I love this quote because it's very extreme. I don't know if I can potentially get you to do a 10-year plan in 6 months. I haven't done it yet. Doesn't mean it's not possible, right? It's just strategy. It's just strategy and the right person being in there. But what I have done is help people with a 10-year plan do it in 5, or a 5-year plan do it in 2, or a 2-year plan do it in 6 months or a year. And when we are optimized, when our business is optimized in every capacity, then what happens is we're able to do this stuff. Peter Thiel. Don't know Peter Thiel? I'm sure you do. Otherwise, don't Google him, ChatGPT him. So it all boils down to this. Identity, right? And everyone starts wrong. Everyone, not everybody, right? Obviously. But people start with who you are now, the old version of you. Everything that's ever happened in your life, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the highs, have led you to thinking the way you are right now. Then what happens is, with the emotional driver that you have now and the vision that you have now for the future at this level, right, the box, you create an outcome. But the truth is, what you want is the 8-figure thinker version of you, right? Who's over here. That version of you creates a very different outcome. So people start where they are now, they create an outcome, they reverse engineer to processes connected to the old, outdated identity. It's stupid because it doesn't make sense. Let me explain. Because in that outdated version of you, or the old you, or even the current you, actually not the current you, the version of you that came onto this call, that version of you, right? Because you've expanded already. The beliefs about what's possible, attitudes to getting things done, language, how you talk to yourself and other people, what you focus on, macro, micro, right? Values, how you value yourself achieving that outcome, doing that process. Habits, what habitual habits are not doing the right thing for you. Talk about habit formation and all of this stuff another time. The vision, we've spoke about that. Smaller identity, smaller vision. Traumas. Yeah, most people are literally running on micro traumas. Right? Nervous system unregulated and brain chemicals out of whack. And then you wonder why you can't achieve what you've achieved. Make sense? So the new neuro updated identity, or the 8-figure thinker, right, has a much more expanded belief about what's possible and the speed it can happen and who's going to help them. The attitude when things get wobbled, right? You think business is going to be easy and smooth? It's not going to happen. I've never seen it. The language you say to yourself in that moment of the micro decision, what you're going to focus on that's going to make a strategic difference, how you value yourself when you're deep in that fight, right? Of getting what you want. Fight's the wrong word, I understand. I just used it as a reference. Habits, vision, motivation, nervous system regulated, brain chemicals and dopamine loops set up correctly. Do you see how different these two worlds are, right? This can only think to a certain level. This is the expanded version of you. Brain works like a muscle. This muscle gets pumped or this muscle gets pumped. This version of you becomes dominant or this version of you becomes dominant. Does that make sense? Of course it does. Everything that you want is here. Everything that you want is here. The 8-figure thinker, right? Happy? Is this help today? Give me a yes in the chat. Give me some response before we jump into the Q&A. So my question to you, who are you really if you're unlimited today? If you're completely unlimited, who are you? What would you accomplish if you truly could? What lights you up if you could truly do anything that you wanted? It's a question. It's such a deep question that you probably just skipped over it. But when you truly get that, life changes. So, case study. Patrick was a good guy. Founder scaling up his SaaS startup. Well, it's still a startup actually, but it did very well very quickly. Challenge, you come to me. Most people do. They come to me in pain. It's probably not the moment you should come to me because I can help you transform much, much faster if you weren't in the pain, but most people do. So that's okay. So chronic stress caused by indecision and critical business moves. When the brain's full, we don't know what to do, we got no one else to talk to, then that's where people hire me to be able to just be their sounding board. We analyze, we unlock, we change states, we help them in so many different ways. So number 2, difficulty attracting premium clients due to inconsistent leadership focus. Again, if you're always stressed and always in this loop of pain, people don't only want to be around unconsciously, genetically, alphas. And I don't mean this stupid concept of alpha. I'm an alpha full of ego. That's weakness. Talk about that topic another time. But this premium clients due to inconsistent leadership. So when we switched on the leadership, a version of him, the 8-figure thinker, then it's very easy to communicate on the same level. And you kind of like become a magnet to people, places, and things that are really going to help you and serve you get what you want. Make sense? Sure, you've all experienced that, right? So the solution, deep neuro-conditioning. We drop brain waves many times, right? Dropping brain waves, we're retraining his wiring in his brain. From there, we unlock genius states. Those genius states have just more high-level thinking, and it's very easy to make decisions, especially when you're in something called heart coherence and things like that, right? So for confidence, more client pitches, becoming a more emotional resilience when there is a no, and also when there is a yes, because now you've got to perform. So what else? Implemented the 4D framework to eliminate 25% of redundant activities. Kind of important. And practice dopamine resets to sustain motivation during long project cycles. Session 1, we spoke about the 60 to 90 minutes cycle, the brain cycle, right? And what to do to reset that. You need to go back to session 1. Yes, you do. So the result, closed 3 enterprise level deals worth 1.5 million in 90 days. Actually, it wasn't 90 days. It was the third one took probably an extra 6 weeks or so. So yeah, 90 to, I don't know, 110 days or 120 days. Reduced workload by 15%. While maintaining revenue and enhanced clarity and confidence in leadership decision. Automation reduces cognitive load by 40%. And that was one of the sessions I did for you. Make sense? Happy? Good. So my question to you is, what high leverage activity would you focus on that will create the biggest money move? What are you doing that you shouldn't? If you were to simplify everything that you're doing right now, simplify, and you were only allowed to make between 3 and 8 moves to get you to your goal, what would they be? And what would you need to stop? What would you need to stop? And what if you did just focus on those money moves? What would change, right? So, week 4, your mission, your action steps to the burnout cure. Number 1, identify and eliminate your top 3 burnout triggers. It could be someone who's around you. It could be how you're setting up the day. You could instantly be just going on to your emails and social media first thing in the morning and instantly just burn your dopamine load out, right? Maybe that's what you're doing. Implement one neuro-conditioning technique to reset your energy daily, and start using strategic energy mapping to delegate or eliminate low-value tasks, right? Get the idea. Not rocket science. You got this. You got this. So, number 5, yeah, we get to move into flow. I love flow. Flow is so important. It's like when, a prime example of this is when I've worked with a lot of world champion athletes, for example. So if flow is the day of the event that someone wins gold, they're in such an altered state where we can install that state, and then give them the ability to fire that neurology and nervous system to be able to go and be in the zone, right? So we do the same with business. How top CEOs, founders, and executives use flows to 10x productivity and decision making. This is all next week. The exact 5 steps to activate flow and demand so you can lead with ease, not burnout. This is all next week. Teaser. Peak performance isn't about pushing harder. It's not. And you know that by now. It's about aligning your brain for effortless execution. I hope you enjoyed this today. And if you have, well, and you're one of these people, or whatever business you're doing, or whatever's going on, just chat with me. Visionary CEOs, founders, and consultants who've outgrown their current path and who are ready to transition into their next level of opportunity. And maybe you're playing at a high level and you want to, and we can 100% unlock 500,000 plus in untapped high value opportunities, reposition yourself as a top tier authority, and expand into strategic influence. Yes, by reclaiming 10 plus hours a week to focus on high leverage decisions and personal freedom. Sounds like you? Then let's connect and design your strategy that you need to accelerate into blue oceans and infinite income. Sound good? Good. Ready for the Q&A? Good. So you can always head over to andymurphy.online, sign up for these, look at the 8-Figure Thinker, hit the podcast up, go message me, let's have a chat with me or one of my team. And you can head over to 8-Figure Thinker Members Club. Go and check out what that is all about. And you can also listen to me 400 plus hours on the Neuro-Performance podcast. Over nearly 4 million downloads of 400 episodes, world-class guests, including Beyonce's dad. You've even got like UFC commentator Bruce Buffer. We've got people like Ben Greenfield, multiple time Joe Rogan's guest. And who else we got? Deepak Chopra's brother. So many others. I've actually got 9 interviews sitting there ready to go out as well. That's it. Should we jump to the Q&A? Beautiful. Let's do that.
Welcome to the Neuro-Performance Podcast with your host, Andy Murphy. Join us as we delve into the advanced high-performance tactics he uses with his elite clientele across the globe. Let's unlock a whole new world of business potential together.